The whispers only grew louder. Rumors ran rampant, fans speculated endlessly, and critics remained unconvinced. But now, Jamal Roberts, the magnetic and unlikely champion of American Idol's 23rd season, has finally spoken out. And what he's just shared, it validates everything we've long suspected. Yet so many of us were reluctant to voice it. Prepare yourself, because this revelation changes everything. Jamal Roberts was never your typical American Idol contender. From the moment he stepped onto that stage, it was clear something about him stood out. His voice grabbed attention instantly. His presence couldn't be ignored, and his personal story struck a deep chord with millions. But as his fame soared, so did the questions. How did someone like Jamal, seemingly emerging from nowhere, manage to capture the nation's heart and outshine his competition? Was it sheer talent alone, or was something more happening behind the curtain? In this video, we're diving deep into Jamal Roberts' rapid rise, the shocking admission he made after clinching the title, and the long-hidden truths that are finally coming to light. We'll expose the controversies, the backstage chatter, and yes, the explosive confirmation that echoes what so many fans have believed all along.
Stay tuned, because what we've uncovered is more than surprising. It might just transform how you see American Idol forever. So let's rewind. Before the cameras, before the votes, before the fame, to the real beginning of Jamal's journey. Long before the lights, the accolades, and the headlines, Jamal Roberts was just another voice echoing through the streets of Atlanta, Georgia. His upbringing was far from privileged. There were no prestigious music schools, no viral TikTok clips, and certainly no inside industry contacts. In reality, Jamal's earliest performances weren't under bright lights. They unfolded on the cracked sidewalks of his neighborhood and within the reverberating walls of his local church. Raised by a single mother juggling 3 jobs just to keep the lights on, Jamal learned early on how to fight for his passion. To him, music wasn't a pastime, it was survival. While other kids played video games, Jamal spent hours dissecting vocal tutorials on YouTube. He studied legends, Marvin Gaye, Prince, Usher, mimicking their every inflection. Each note he delivered was weighted with life experience. His voice wasn't just beautiful, it was raw, it was real. But this is where things took a surprising turn. Jamal very nearly skipped the American Idol audition. Those close to him say he battled serious doubts, unsure if he fit the mold the show typically embraced. In an honest backstage moment, Jamal confessed, "I knew I didn't look like your usual Idol winner. I wasn't polished, I didn't have a stylist. I had a story, not a brand." And that audition? It almost didn't happen. Jamal actually missed the first round of local tryouts, simply because he couldn't afford the gas to get there. It wasn't until a family friend started a GoFundMe that he was able to pull together just enough cash to make it to the second round in Nashville. Even then, he arrived with little more than a cracked iPhone, 2 pairs of jeans, and a borrowed shirt on his back. But the second he began to sing, everything changed. Jamal's version of Sam Cooke's "A Change Is Gonna Come" left the judges in tears. Genuine, visible tears. Katy Perry had to step out of the room. Lionel Richie declared, "That's not just talent, that's purpose." And in that instant, this quiet, struggling artist from Atlanta became one of the frontrunners. This is where the story starts to twist. Despite his clear talent, whispers from behind the scenes suggested Jamal's path on American Idol might not have been entirely conventional. Fans started noticing strange editing decisions, inconsistent judge comments, and an almost overnight spike in online support, all of which stirred suspicion that something larger might have been unfolding behind closed doors. And now, with Jamal finally speaking publicly, some of those lingering suspicions are beginning to look more credible. But before we unpack that bombshell revelation, let's zoom in on a pattern. One of favoritism and manipulation that many believe guided his journey to the crown. As Jamal kept advancing in the show, a growing number of viewers couldn't shake the sense that something was off. By the second week of the live broadcasts, social media was buzzing. People on platforms like Reddit, Twitter, or X, as it's now called, and YouTube were flagging what they described as editing bias. Jamal consistently got more screen time than any other contestant. Longer segments, emotional backstories with swelling music, slow-motion audience reactions, and immaculately lit performances. At the same time, other vocal powerhouses barely got any exposure. Some fans loved the extra attention Jamal was receiving. Others, they weren't so convinced. And that's when things got even more compelling. Behind the scenes, two former production assistants from American Idol, who spoke anonymously to the entertainment site Reality T, claimed that the producers were deeply invested in Jamal's success. One of them disclosed, "From early on, there was a clear mandate. Jamal had to be the focal point. Every episode needed to highlight him. His footage was cleaned up. His vocals were tuned in post. And the judges? They were gently encouraged to stick to the narrative." According to those insiders, the show was on the hunt for a new kind of hero, and Jamal fit the bill flawlessly. But was that simply savvy storytelling? Or was there a more calculated strategy beneath the surface? That's when the allegations of voting irregularities began to emerge. During the top 5 week, a TikTok user posted what quickly went viral, a screen recording of a failed voting attempt. They claimed that their votes, meant for another contestant, Maria Espinosa, weren't being counted correctly, even though they had tapped her name. The video clearly showed a "thank you for voting" message popping up beneath Jamal's name, not Maria's. The internet erupted. For nearly 3 days straight, the hashtag #AdultsCam dominated trending charts. In response, the show's producers issued a brief, non-specific statement denying any wrongdoing and blaming it on a temporary app glitch. But by that point, the damage was already done. Viewers began digging deeper, scrutinizing Jamal's follower growth, voting numbers, and iTunes rankings compared to other contestants. And the numbers didn't quite make sense. For example, Jamal's Spotify streams doubled in a single week, despite no official release. His social media following surged by more than 300,000 in just 2 days, a spike many suspected was the result of bot activity. Even more puzzling, during weeks 6 and 7, despite lackluster performances, Jamal somehow avoided falling into the bottom 3. The audience was split. Was Jamal really America's favorite? Or was the system quietly tipping the scales in his favor? And it wasn't just the fans who started raising eyebrows. Several eliminated contestants began to speak up. Elena J, cut during the top 10, hinted during an Instagram live that some of us were told to hold back vocally so the chosen ones could shine. Then there was DeMarcus Lane, another former contestant, who posted, and later deleted, a tweet that sent shockwaves. This season wasn't about talent. It was about building a narrative. And they wrote his before we even auditioned. Jamal, for a while, stayed silent. He didn't respond to the rumors. His team issued blanket denials, insisting there was no behind-the-scenes manipulation. Then, out of the blue, came the confession. Just weeks after his win, Jamal went live on Instagram, and what he revealed confirmed many people's worst fears. But before we dive into that now notorious live stream and the bombshells it contained, we need to rewind and examine the immense pressure Jamal was under, and how producers may have pushed him into playing a role he never asked for. Behind every confident smile Jamal Roberts gave the world on stage, a storm was quietly raging inside. On camera, he seemed unstoppable, poised, magnetic, self-assured. But away from the spotlight, those closest to him say Jamal was fighting an inner war, one few saw. And as the competition intensified, so did his struggle. It became something heavier. A deep identity crisis, rising anxiety, and a painful battle between staying true and fitting into the role producers had carved out for him. They wanted the perfect underdog package, the humble church singer, the feel-good miracle, the soulful voice that America could rally behind. But Jamal, the real Jamal, he didn't always fit that mold. He was raw, he was thoughtful, he was angry at times, and, most of all, deeply human. He wasn't there just to sing notes. He wanted to speak his truth, to push back against the system. But according to leaked text messages tied to a burner account from a former contestant, Jamal was repeatedly told to keep quiet about his views on race, class, and religion within the music industry. One source said that during top 6 rehearsals, Jamal had planned to dedicate his performance to Black men who never got a second chance. Producers shut it down immediately. He was also allegedly told to avoid mentioning police violence. They wanted uplift, not discomfort.